one of the challenges of producing a world-class work of art is that Hollywood, Broadway, and the kind of establishment artistic mills of the United States aren't in the business of producing art anymore. They're in the interest, take pop music, for instance. What are they really? Well, they're really jingles for artists. If you were to get rid of the lyrics, you couldn't tell, say, Britney Spears from Katy Perry, from Lady Gaga, whatever. And when you actually go to produce a long-suffered work of art, we run into a couple problems, and those, namely, you want an opera singer. You want someone who's classically trained but who can also sing soulfully. And usually, singers are either in the business of doing one or the other. And all told, it's much easier to get someone with that classical training who can also emote in the way that you really need in order to connect with an audience on a personal level. Because, a lot of times sopranos will talk about, altos, doesn't matter what your voice part, will talk about using that proverbial head voice. But really, the world of opera, unfortunately, is littered with singers who in terms of their heart, they're really using that head mentality. So they may be able to nail all the notes, but they can't really. They don't really. You get the sense they don't really know what they're singing about. They're really just doing the old virtuosic firework routine. And this is one of the reasons why opera is often lost on the average American, and most of the world for that reason. And this was one of the troubles that we ran into in finding the right singer for the demos we've recorded so far, which you can listen to, by the way, on fallmusical.com. And it's a problem because people are kind of stuck in one of those two worlds, this kind of stuffy old world, or a lot of these kind of weird opera directors, they'll try to some of them they'll try to they'll try to take Mozart and oh man, I don't want to I hate to keep referencing Family Guy because it's such a trashy show on so many levels, but they're doing the Magic Flute in A minor. But that's what a lot of these weird opera directors, they'll come out with some a concept opera, and they'll take Madame Butterfly and we're gonna say no, it's going to really be a butterfly. It's going to be an actual butterfly. And so it's kind of kooky and it's kind of out there, or they'll try to really kind of oversex something in all the wrong ways, and that only appeals to kind of bipolar opera audiences of a very certain, literally bipolar, lonely, desperate, artistic types who don't have any connection or groundedness in the real world, if that makes sense. One of the cool things about Fall Musical is that it breaks all of the not traditional rules, because today's content mills like Hollywood and Broadway are anything but traditional. We start with a long-suffered score, with a long-suffered work of art. And it's always growing. It is always changing as we continue to develop fallmusical.com, and you should go there and have a listen and check out the first chapter of the digital novelization of Fall. But the trouble is, the fake news has kind of walled itself, or not the infotainment establishment, if you will. Hollywood's kind of walled itself into a corner, and they're in the business really of making the audience feel. Oh, look at this Joe Biden signs. That's cute. Joe Biden works for New York. He doesn't work for anybody but himself. Anyway, the problem with Hollywood, everything you see, is that they've always got to get this this weird. It's like a moral. It's like a moral point that every Hollywood movie today is trying to make, but it's such a fake moral point. It's like, and in conclusion, and there's always, it's always there. It's like it's like you can almost get into a movie. You really can't because they're so trashy, but it's like the ones you can almost enjoy, be it on Netflix or anywhere else. They always have to slap you over the head like your communist public school teacher with some kind of thing that's supposed to make you feel guilty about something that you shouldn't feel guilty about. You really need to donate more to the Lost Dog Society or something like that, or the world is going to end, or really, you should always kill yourself to spare a minority. And that's something you should. And then they move on with their happy ending, and you're just like, what? It's like, what's that supposed to? Wait, what are they putting in that movie again? What was that? That was weird. That was really weird. I don't know why I think it was weird, but there's something not quite right about that. But anyway. We do none of that in fallmusical.com. It's pure listening to the voice of God within the human soul. Which again, in all of their fake moralizing, all this communist union Hollywood. And by the way, Walt Disney was the first one to say that communists were taking over his studio. Just search americasmansman.com and you'll find a write-up on that along with video of Walt Disney testifying before Congress. And it is as bad as they thought it was, because the communists clearly have taken over our education system, our media, and everything else. Anyway, you get none of that in fallmusical.com. So it's really an attempt to once again really create a pure work of art. Obviously, no work of art is perfect, and that's part of what makes it art. But there's no fake moralizing, if that makes sense. Obviously, it comes from a moral center because I'm all about God and country, and I guess the purpose, because all art does have a purpose, is to awaken the sense of what really is authentically true and beautiful and wonderful about this wonderful country, and how did we get sunken? How did the American family get sunken so that so much of America, for so many years, especially under the Barack regime, how were we so scared for so long, and how wonderful it is to breathe a breath of fresh air, and to be able to really awaken once again to that beauty and joy of true American greatness, as opposed to the sludge that they're piping into our ears, eyes, and noses every day via YouTube and the FANG companies and pornographic Netflix and Google and the fake news, etc., and so on and so forth. If you have kids who have the misfortune of going to a government school and whom you can't homeschool, go homeschooling. So anyway, that's what Fall Musical is all. But at its core, it's an authentic work of art, and we don't let the political correctness and the kind of whack you over the head, and this is why you're a bad person if you don't do this, kind of nonsense that Disney, all the studios are all piping out these days, just like the fake news, whacking you over the head with a moral message which is actually immoral is the clincher, is that they're all their silly messages that they're trying to put in movies. You ever notice that? And this is, you really should. More people should fuck other men up the ass. Is the moral of every single Hollywood story today. And you know what? This is just a breath of fresh air, and it's one that we're working on finding just the right person, just the right people to do it, because even though this is the state of art today, there are people who do sing, who are classically trained, which you really need. And then that's been our answer to the problem, really, is to start with that person who has the classical training, because it's a lot more easy to encourage and to awaken that sense of the real and the pure and the just and the connection with the heart in even a little bit of a kind of a stodgy opera singer who's kind of all in the head rather than their heart. It's easier to help someone who's classically trained, who has the skill, because that's the thing it takes years to develop, is the artistic prowess, the ability to hit those notes, and to have all of the technique down, all of the breathing and all those things that once upon a time all American artists had, but of course rock music killed all that. Really has the ability. So that's kind of that's the way that we approach the quandary of there not being any real artists left in America anymore, or in very few other places too, which is why we had to go all the way to Germany to record some of the demos that you'll hear on fallmusical.com, because pop artists can't sing. And frankly, calling them artists, but now I'm really sounding like a music snob, but you kind of have to be when you're making the best musical of the millennium, of the century, at the very least. This is Peter Vidala, the director-composer of fallmusical.com. Check it out, and if you want to get involved, if you have that passion for creating authentic, real art, not just Hollywood sludge and hey guys, here's my YouTube video, check us out at fallmusical.com and drop us a line at americasmansman.com for fallmusical.com and americasmansman.com. I am America's Man's Man, Peter Vidala.